Hi everyone, this is Aaron Celia.
And this is Celia Foster.
We'd like to welcome you to our very next set of programming on Returning to Oz, an audio documentary. What do you have to share with us today as far as some facts and some things?
You had expressed to me yesterday, I believe, that you wanted to know more about the ruby slippers made for the film and their whereabouts and such.
Oh yes, that's right. I remember you had gotten some articles, I believe, last year. I had previously gotten some older issues of the Bomb Bugle from the International Wizard of Oz Club magazines, and a couple portions of them were devoted to Return to Oz, so I believe that's what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
There was one called The Costume Wizardry.
Yes.
In Return to Oz, and before that time I had no idea that such detail went into all the costumes, and but the interesting thing was that there was this whole column in the article on how they made the ruby slippers for this film. And it's interesting because in the original Baum books, they're not the ruby slippers, they're silver shoes.
That's right.
But at the time in 1938-39, there was they were just coming out with a new technology called Technicolor in those days.
That's right.
And they wanted to use it on this film.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, well, when they got the rights to the first book, The Wizard of Oz, they had read the story, and they were going to make the shoes silver, but somebody pointed out, I think it was probably the cameraman or the photographer, that the shoes wouldn't photograph very well on the silver screen because screens were actually silver in those days. So because and to be photographed with silver shoes, it would not work very well at all on the screen because, the shoes wouldn't really show up to the eye.
Right.
So a decision was made to actually make them ruby slippers instead.
Right, and also actually for many of you, all of you really, that really do want to get some more information on the ruby slippers, there's a wonderful book. It's by Ray Thomas, and I forgot the title. Is it called The Search for the Ruby Slippers?
Yes.
Okay,
I think
yes.
It's called Searching.
Yeah, something like that. But that book actually is very popular, and that, although I believe it's a little over 10 years old now, there's some really good history and information on the ruby slippers and who had them before and the different ones that were given. And but yes, I thought I'd mention that to all of you because you guys would be interested to check that book out and maybe buy a copy.
Yes, and so it was really interesting when when they were coming up with Return to Oz. It was really interesting with the decision they eventually made that that they were going to keep the ruby slippers, the shoes ruby, instead of following along with the actual book, which they could have done, but they decided eventually that there would be ruby slippers in this film as well. So they actually had to pay MGM a fee for that, since it was MGM at the time who invented the ruby slippers.
That's right. It's actually great that Disney decided to use the ruby slippers into that movie because although it's been said that movie is a sequel to The Wizard of Oz, it's good that they kept the ruby slippers and didn't use the silver shoes because, honestly, I mean, since you see that movie and the special effects, I'm sure, hopefully you can all agree, and Celia, I'm sure you can agree that they did a much better job than using the ruby slippers and using silver, don't you think?
Oh yes. I do agree on that one.
Right.
It was a very hard decision for them, but they eventually rested on it, and they didn't want audiences to be totally mystified.
Right.
So they had to keep that little connection in there.
That's right, and that's great.
Anyway, so I was reading in the article that they actually did use a lot of ruby rhinestones in the shoes
Wow.
themselves. I mean, those are as close to real rubies as you can get.
They really did.
And there were thousands of them sewn in to the shoe itself, and which were imported. But the shoes, the whole design and everything was, at least upwards of $30,000.
Wow.
And that's just for one pair.
Amazing.
And
Right.
I know that I had said on a previous show or a previous recording, I remember I had said that there were 4 pairs of ruby slippers made.
Mm-hmm.
I actually went back and read the article, and let me correct this here because
Okay.
I want to be accurate. And
Sure.
I'm glad I went back and read the article, but there were actually 7 pairs made.
Wow. Now, to verify so everyone knows, you're talking about the ruby slippers that were used on Return to Oz, not
Yes,
the Wizard of Oz.
7 were made.
Okay. Wow.
Let me think. I think 2 were made. 2 were made for Emma Ridley, 2 for Nicole Williamson,
Okay.
and the remaining 3 were for Firuza Balk.
I see. Wow. Firuza got the extra pair of ruby slippers, didn't she?
Yes, she got
Yeah.
an extra one. Just because she was the one who was mostly in the film.
Right. That's right.
So I think that's why they wanted to cover all the bases there.
That's right. I think that's a good thing. Now, did the other thing I think I should say, and actually I'm sure everyone might be wondering, maybe you can tell everyone else, Celia, but do you think those out of all the 7 pairs, the ruby rhinestones, were they in all those pairs as well?
Yes, a lot. A lot of the ruby rhinestones would be in all 7 pairs. Yes, so
Okay.
that would make them very, 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 very rare and very, very, just very, very. Worth a lot of money if you actually own the pair.
Wow. Do you have one hidden away at your house?
Oh, I wish I did. I wish. Because they were amazing the way that they were made.
They were.
And she shared it with me too, and he said that the very end scene where Dorothy runs outside to play, right as the credits come up, and she runs off her porch and leaps into her yard, followed closely by Toto. There must have been some problem with the sound that day because they couldn't really get the desired sound of the little dog that played Toto. They were trying to get the sound, the desired barks, and but they couldn't. So after the day's wrap, they were like, "Oh my goodness, what are we going to do?" Because you can't exactly go and reshoot the scene,
Right.
Several times.
Yeah, it would take too much time when they need to move on,
Right,
to the
and
next
they
scene.
need to wrap up.
Right.
So Walter said, "Oh, I can take care of this." And so he ended up doing a marvelous imitation of the little terrier used in the film.
Right, the little Toto.
And the sound guy just said, "Hey, this could work." And
Wow.
one of his imitations is actually in the movie, and you really can't tell a difference. I certainly couldn't.
Yes, I couldn't either. In fact, I just found out for the very first time the other day from Celia about this fact, and I know it's almost impossible for most of the common fans to ever even have known of this fact. So, and who knows, maybe most of the people at Disney didn't even know about this, Celia. So I thank you really for finding this out, especially because I think this is a very, very interesting fact, and obviously it's really, really funny. So
Yes.
yeah. So do you have anything more to share about that incident?
Well, really, that's all that she basically told me. But I just found it, fascinating that you don't expect, people who actually, Walter's known for his sound mixing.
Right.
Primarily and movie editing. And I just never thought that sound people would be all that really great at imitating, things like dogs or noises, but apparently they are.
Right. It's
so
right.
I thought that was very amusing.
Right. It is very amusing. In fact, it's been said, and I think you may know people or heard people do it in the past, but there are a lot of people that can imitate bird sounds. And when you're not looking and they're imitating the birds, you think it's a bird. And, that's just an example that there are a lot of people that can imitate the bird sounds. And I can't do that. I don't know people that can do it either, but it's true. But that's just an example right there that, people can imitate the birds, and, that's how Walter Murch really maybe can go ahead and try to imitate the dog.
Right, and he did very successfully because nobody can tell.
That's right. It seems almost impossible that could have been a person. It's just amazing.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Wow.
Aaron and I just wanted to let you guys know, that you guys that are listening out there, that this isn't going to be, a temporary stint. We plan to keep this going as long as possible. And with everything that I've studied, I've told Aaron that I could write a book on this. So
yes, it's true. It's true.
For those of you who are fans of this movie and are enjoying this segment, don't worry about it. Don't worry that it's just going to suddenly end and then, oh no, what'll I do?
Right.
But
that's right.
Yeah, just keep listening, and you just might, learn something, and you might be fascinated. And we're so glad you're enjoying this.
Right. We are so glad you are. We thank you for your participation in downloading and listening yet again to our second series of programming on Return to Oz.
Thank you very much.
And this is Aaron Passon.
And this is Celia Foster from ReturnToOzTheMovie.com.
Thanks for listening.